In this lesson, you're going to learn how to create wires and tubes or hoses on an engine using 3D splines. So let's open up the engine from your working files folder. We go back one level. There's a folder here called engine. Now what you'll need to do is click on the filter top level assemblies icon, which is new for 2013, and you'll see the top level assemblies here. Select the engine for motion. Double click on that to open up this engine model. Might want to give that a minute to load depending on your computer. And what I'm going to do is go through this process pretty much from the beginning. I'm going to just hide our existing wires and then recreate them. Okay, to start off with, I'm going to need to insert a brand new part. So insert component, new part. SolidWorks inserts this first part as a virtual component because it hasn't been saved to its own file name yet. Notice my cursor has a green check on it, and the prompt down at the bottom is saying select the face or plane on which to position the new part. So I'm just going to click the front plane. SolidWorks automatically wants to put me into a 2D sketch, even though my first sketch is really going to be a 3D sketch. So now with the part open, I'll just turn off the sketch icon. And you might notice that the display is a little bit jumbled. I'm going to adjust a setting. Let's go into Tools Options. And in here, we'll want to go to Display Selection. The setting we're looking for is called Assembly Transparency for In-Context Edit. Let's turn this off from Force Assembly Transparency to Maintain Assembly Transparency. The advantage here is that it's not going to tax your video card as much. The disadvantage is that you won't be able to see as clearly when you're editing a part in an assembly. What you need to pay attention to is this icon in the upper right-hand corner. Now, before we open up our 3D sketch, let's create an offset plane because we want the wires to sit up off of the valve cover. So let's create a plane. Offset from this face by 1/10 of an inch. Let's make sure we can keep track of that plane. It's down here in this new part. Let's open up a 3D sketch and double click on that plane. So that allows us to sketch on a plane within a 3D sketch. This makes everything just a little bit more comfortable and familiar. I'm going to draw the straight sections of these wires with straight lines. Again, an advantage just because it's a lot easier. Okay, now we can place dimensions between these. Let's make that 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch. Dimension here from the origin to one of these lines. And that allows me to get the lines placed in that direction. And now I can place them also in this direction by dimensioning just from the origin to the end point of the line. Okay, and now with the linear portion of the wires dimensioned and black, I'm going to turn off the dimension tool and double click in blank space. That gets me back into the regular 3D sketch mode. And now I want to create the first of my wires. So I'll use a spline, and in fact I'm going to use just a 2-point spline from the end of the first wire. Come down in, wake up the edge, and double click at the center point of the end of the spark plug. With these two wires, I'll make a tangent relation. Then to get this wire to come axially right out of the spark plug, I'm going to view the temporary axes, select the temporary axis, control click on the 3D spline and make that tangent. Now I just need to make sure that the wire actually clears this edge, so I'm going to drag this out slightly and drag this up slightly. So there, that should clear the edge. Let's go ahead and do the same thing for the other two wires. See if I can get everything on the screen here at the same time. Spline, click on the endpoint, wake up the center point, double click to place that. Click on the axis, control click the spline, make tangent. Now this happens from time to time. I got an error, and this error seems to be for no good reason. So I'm just going to delete this. We're going to have to use a little workaround in that case and accomplish this in a different way. In some ways, showing a workaround is a good thing because it'll make you a little more flexible. What I'm going to do is just draw a construction line from the end of that wire just out into space. The main goal with this end is to make sure I don't pick up any automatic relations. And then what I want to do is select the temporary axis that goes through the center of the spark plug, control click on the construction line, and make them collinear. And I want to clear the selection with the escape key, click on the spline, control click on the construction line, and make those tangent. Now, for whatever reason, it works when you use a construction line, but it doesn't work if you use the temporary axis. I'm not sure what's going on, but that's one way to work around it, is just to use actual sketch geometry instead of reference geometry. So adjust the handles to make your wire clear the valve cover. And now let's put the last one on. One thing that you'll get used to when you start working with more complex areas of SolidWorks is that you often run into situations where you need to know how to use workarounds. It may depend on how you select this temporary axis. It appears to. Okay, so the wire is right now going through the cover, so we don't want that. We'll just extend these handles, trying not to get too crazy with it. We don't want big wire loops on here. Okay, great. Now we've got all these set up. Let's make it easy on ourselves here and make a construction line that connects all three of these. I want this line to be perpendicular to that line. And I want this endpoint to be coincident. When we take a look at this, we see that the wire didn't do at all what we thought it was doing. So let's delete this automatic relation that we got and take this endpoint, pull it back. Now that should be good. Let's turn off the temporary axes just to get the confusion off the screen. The main point of what we were doing there was to get all three of these in a line, so we only have to create a single plane, and then we can sketch circles for each one of the separate wires. Now let's get out of the 3D sketch and create that new plane. Click on the wire or the straight line and control click on its endpoint. So I should automatically get a plane that's perpendicular to the line and coincident to the endpoint. All right, and now with this plane selected, we're going to create a circle on the plane. I'm going to draw a circle right here, centered on the end of the wire. Pick up that automatic relation if you can. Give it a 0.2 inch diameter. And then exit the sketch. Create a sweep using the circle as the cross section. When you go to select the path, the selection manager comes up because we created all three wire center lines in a single sketch. So I've selected on the first wire here. I'll click on the select all tangent entities and then hit the right mouse button menu to accept that. So SOLIDWORKS is going to use just that portion of the 3D sketch for this sweep. Now SOLIDWORKS does the favor for us of turning off the 3D sketch. So we have to go back and turn it back on. Let's just make sure that everything goes to plan. Everything looks good there. We're clearing the corner of the cover. Now let's go back to that same plane that we created. Draw another circle. Put another 0.2 dimension on it. Exit the sketch. Make another sweep. Select the section. To select the path, in this case, we're going to have to right-click and use the selection manager. I can click on straight line and the tangent, and then right-click. So SOLIDWORKS accepts that. We'll do it one more time. Click on the plane. Click on the circle. Click on the center. Drag the radius. Click on the dimension tool. Add a dimension to the wire. Exit the sketch. Click the sweep feature. Click on the circle. Right-click to get the selection manager. Click on the straight section of the wire. Click the select tangent, and then right-click. And right-click again. Okay, now we've created all of our wires in a single part. We've used a 3D sketch with straight lines and splines, and we've used some sweep features.